I've been a trucker for close to 15 years now, and in all that time, I've had my fair share of weird encounters on the road. But nothing comes close to what happened to me one night in 2024. I was hauling a load of industrial freezers through the Mojave Desert, heading to Phoenix. It was an overnight run, the kind I'd taken 100 times before, and I wasn't expecting anything but long hours and bad gas station coffee. But something about that night was off from the start. The road was too quiet. No headlights in my mirrors, no taillights ahead. Just my own rig cutting through the blackness. My headlights were dim as hell. Been putting off fixing them for weeks. But out there in the middle of nowhere, with nothing but sand and scrub stretching for miles, I really felt it. I could barely see 20 feet ahead. I was debating whether to pull over and wait for sunrise when I caught sight of something ahead, a dark shape in the middle of the road. I tensed, heart kicking up a notch. At first I thought it was a deer or a coyote, but as I got closer, I saw it was a car, a red Ford Fusion, hazard lights blinking, passenger door hanging wide open. I hit the brakes hard, my tires screaming against the asphalt, stopping just a foot from the car's bumper. For a long moment I just sat there, gripping the wheel, staring at the empty road beyond the car. Nobody moved. I'm not the kind of guy who scares easy. I've dealt with plenty of shady people in truck stops and rest areas. But there was something wrong about this. The door hanging open like that, the complete silence, the way the desert night seemed to press in like a held breath. Still, curiosity got the better of me. I reversed the semi, pulled to the side, and climbed down. My boots crunched against the pavement as I approached the car. The hazard lights cast everything in a dull, flickering glow.
Hello?
I called. No answer. I peeked inside. Empty. Back seat, too. No sign of a struggle. No blood. Nothing. The key was still in the ignition. My gut was screaming at me to get back in my truck and drive. But against my better judgment, I kept looking. I moved to the trunk, tried to pop it open, locked. But something wasn't right. The lid had a slight bulge to it, like something inside was pushing against it. Then I noticed the rope, a thick frayed rope wrapped tight around the trunk latch, keeping it shut. And just below that, the telltale edge of black plastic peeking out. A garbage bag. I swallowed hard. Before I could do anything, a sound shattered the silence, a sharp crack that echoed through the desert. I ducked, heart slamming into my ribs, and scrambled away from the car. In the distance, a voice rang out, rough, grating.
Hey!
I turned just in time to see him, stumbling out of the darkness maybe 20 yards away, a short, husky guy in overalls and knee-high boots. He was holding a shovel in one hand and a rifle in the other. We locked eyes. For a second I thought maybe he'd shoot. But then, something weird happened. He looked nervous, not angry, not crazed, just desperate. I wasn't waiting for shit. I bolted back to my semi, practically diving into the cab. My hands were shaking as I jammed the keys in the ignition. The engine stuttered, refusing to turn over. The guy was getting closer. I pounded the dashboard, cursing.
Come on! Oh, shit, come on!
The truck roared to life. I slammed it into gear just as he reached the rear of my trailer. As I pulled away, I caught one last glimpse of him in my side mirror. He wasn't raising the rifle. He wasn't even trying to shoot me. He was waving, like he was trying to get me to stop. I floored it, the engine growling as I sped down the highway. My pulse was still hammering when I saw the headlights in my mirrors. The red Ford, coming fast. My stomach dropped. I grabbed my phone, trying to keep one hand on the wheel as I dialed 911.
911, what's your emergency?
I could barely get the words out. The Ford was right on my tail now, headlights flashing, horn blaring. He wasn't trying to ram me, just signaling. Then, after what felt like an eternity, blue and red lights lit up the road ahead. The Ford jerked violently to the right, veering off the highway and disappearing into the desert. A patrol car pulled up behind me. A cop stepped out, flashlight in hand. I told him everything, breathless, still shaking. But when we went back to the spot where I'd found the car, it was gone. No skid marks, no debris, no Ford Fusion, nothing. They never found it, never called me with an update. It was like it had never been there at all. I don't know what was in that trunk. I don't know why that guy was so desperate to stop me. All I know is that I don't take overnight hauls through the Mojave anymore, and I never ever stop for stranded cars. I hope this story serves as a great lesson to many, because there were so many strange coincidences on one event here. A deserted road, a Ford Fusion in the middle of the road. It's empty and the doors are wide open, not to mention a locked trunk and total silence all around. Guys, that's a definite hint that you should stay away from this kind of thing. I can say for sure, now I associate all red Ford Fusions on the road with that night and that incident. After that night, I had driven through the Mojave several times before, only during the day. I never saw anything suspicious again. It was definitely a trap of some kind. But I still have doubts about what the guy was trying to say and why he was trying to catch up with me.